case of problem, an early abort, even if the launcher is still on ground, to rescue the crew. The service module itself proposes major functions to Orion, mainly the propulsive function. On top of that, the service module provides power system, which means the power generation and the power distribution system. Then there is the thermal control system on board, and there is eventually the so-called consumable storage system, which consists of tanks, valves and pressure regulators for water, oxygen and nitrogen, which will be used by the crew during the mission. With regard to Orion missions, one mission has already been executed, the so-called Exploration Flight Test number 1, which has been executed in December 2014. And the main objectives of this mission was to demonstrate the high-energy re-entry with 20,000 miles per hour in order to demonstrate that the heat shield holds the thermal loads, to demonstrate that the parachute system works, and to demonstrate that the capsule retrieval in the Pacific Ocean is well organized. So the next mission will actually be the EM-1 mission, which is currently planned for end of 2019. This mission will still be uncrewed, but it will be the almost full configuration of the Orion vehicle, with the only exception that there will be no environmental control and life support system in the crew, as there will be no crew. Otherwise, this mission will fly to a moon distant retrograde orbit, so that is farther than any human mission has been executed so far. The total mission duration will be 25 days. It is a pure qualification and demonstration flight for the second mission, the so-called EM-2 mission, which will then be executed in 2022. It will be the first crewed mission, and this mission is in particular importance because it is not only the first manned flight, but it is also the first flight after shuttle retirement from US crew. It is further important because it will transport the electric propulsion bus, which is the basic propulsion equipment of the Deep Space Gateway, which will be autonomously operating in space, partially even unmanned. The Deep Space Gateway basically contains, in the first step, out of 3 elements. The first element will be the electric propulsion bus. The second element is the so-called habitat, so it's an element which is similar to Columbus. The third element is a logistic module, which will probably contain some refueling tanks and will allow some additional compartments for external payload storage. Deep Space Gateway is a staging post in the lunar vicinity. It will allow humans to elaborate the challenges of deep space on long term, and is therefore perfect to investigate for further missions to even further destinations like Mars. What are the next steps in the development of Orion? So we have to increase the performance of the service module, but on the other hand we have to replace some of the old shuttle hardware, which is only available in limited terms of numbers. The crew module as of today doesn't have a docking mechanism yet, so you have to have a rendezvous and docking system in order to dock to the Deep Space Gateway. So these are evolutions which have to be done on the crew module, but also on the service module, in order to allow to operate the Deep Space Gateway. So the heritage of ATV regarding the service module is believed by many people as being significant, but in reality that's not true, because ATV is a vehicle which was volume and cargo mass optimized in order to improve the logistics service to the ISS, and the requirements of the service module are quite contradictory. We have to build a low mass vehicle in order to have a high performance, and therefore quite some of the requirements and constraints are different on the service module than on ATV. NASA and ESA have a long-standing and very fruitful partnership, which has been growing over many years, in particular on the cooperation on the ISS, where ESA has delivered a number of elements like Columbus, Nodes, Cupola, but also through the logistics services of the 5 ATV missions. I think we have shown that we are a very reliable partner, and this is the reason why NASA has entrusted us to provide the service module.
Not long ago, 3 astronauts named Neil, Buzz, and Mike set off for the moon. Unlike the spacefarers before them, 2 of these men were going a giant step further. They landed on the moon. For about 2.5 hours, Neil and Buzz explored the lunar surface, taking samples and pictures. What an achievement for rocket science, for space exploration, for the human race, and for photography. An astronaut not only walked on another world, he recorded the stroll. Later Apollo missions followed the example, capturing mind-blowing images in space and on the lunar surface. They used a camera in particular, made in Sweden, that came to be known as the Apollo camera. This is the story of how that Swedish camera made it to the moon. Hello from Gothenburg. My name is Leilan from the European Space Agency, and today we're in Sweden's second largest city to dig up some photos. Moon photos, to be exact. Gothenburg has a rich industrial and cultural history. Volvo was founded here in 1927. So many famous Swedish pop bands come from Gothenburg, including the only one I recognize from my childhood, Ace of Base. But Gothenburg is also home to Victor Hasselblad, who is an industrialist and most popularly known as the maker of the camera that was used on the moon. Now, raise your hand if you thought Hasselblad was German. Americans. To find out more about how a Swedish camera ended up on the moon, we're going to be speaking to the nice folks at the Hasselblad Foundation. Elsa, a historian, and Gunnar, a camera technician who worked on the Apollo-era camera, walk me through Hasselblad history. Hasselblad made a name in the camera industry by selling and developing film. Their first go at actually developing a camera was during World War II. So here we have one of the first cameras that the Hasselblad company built, which was an aerial camera, and it was commissioned by the Swedish military. But Victor Hasselblad dreamed of making a civilian camera, and after a few failed prototypes, managed it in the late 1950s.
But here you can see Victor Hasselblad in 1957. The camera was released in New York as well as the very first one, so you can see that's the
500C.
While the landmark Hasselblad 500C cameras were highly sought after in the 1960s, the idea of sending one to space was more of an afterthought. Ove Bengtsson, product manager at Hasselblad, explains how one astronaut's hobby led to the company's professional relationship